The content for generating the sections is, imagine a young United States, barely 36 years old, looking across its northern border at British-controlled Canada. Imagine a rising nation thinking, if we attack now, maybe Canada will fall. Maybe it will join us. This is the story of the War of 1812, a war the U.S. started, Britain didn't want, and Canada never forgot. Scene: British ships stopping American vessels, sailors being dragged off. The seeds of war began on the ocean. Britain was fighting a massive war against Napoleon in Europe. To power their navy, British commanders forced sailors from American ships into British service, something called impressment. To the Americans, this felt like humiliation, like someone slapping your face and daring you to respond. At the same time, British officials in Canada were accused of helping Indigenous nations resist American expansion westward. The U.S. believed that if they struck Canada, Britain would finally respect them. Scene: American soldiers marching north confidently. In 1812, American politicians made a bold claim. The conquest of Canada will be a mere matter of marching. They thought Canadians, many of them recent American migrants, would welcome the U.S. troops with open arms. They were wrong. Canadian militias, British redcoats, and Indigenous warriors under leaders like Tecumseh united to defend their land. Scene: General Brock and Tecumseh planning, Americans in fear. America's first invasion targeted Detroit. General William Hull crossed into Canada, then panicked and ran back to the fort. Canadian General Isaac Brock, together with Tecumseh, used a brilliant trick. They made their army look larger by marching troops in circles through the trees. Hull was so intimidated that he surrendered without a fight. It was one of the most embarrassing defeats in U.S. military history. 245-325. Battle on Cliffs, Brock leading a charge. The second invasion hit the Niagara region. At Queenston Heights, U.S. troops crossed the river and took high ground. General Brock led a heroic counterattack but was shot and killed. His death enraged the Canadian militia. With Indigenous warriors arriving to reinforce, the American troops panicked and surrendered. Another invasion failed. Scene: Harsh winter, muddy trails, soldiers struggling. The Americans then tried marching on Montreal, but winter hit like a hammer. Mud, snow, disease, hunger, everything turned against them. Their commanders fought each other more than they fought the British. The invasion collapsed before even reaching the city. 400-440. Scene: Naval battles on the Great Lakes, American ships firing. By 1813, the U.S. Navy showed unexpected strength. In the Great Lakes, Oliver Hazard Perry won the Battle of Lake Erie and declared, "We have met the enemy, and they are ours." This victory allowed the U.S. to reclaim Detroit and defeat Britain's indigenous ally, Tecumseh, a tragic loss for the First Nations resistance. Scene: British troops marching into Washington, flames rising. When the war in Europe ended, Britain finally sent veteran troops to North America. In 1814, they marched into Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States, and set the White House, the Capitol, and several buildings on fire. The young nation was shaken. The message was clear: do not underestimate the British Empire. Scene: Battle of New Orleans, Andrew Jackson leading troops. The last major battle happened in New Orleans. General Andrew Jackson and his mixed army of militia, pirates, and volunteers defeated the British in a stunning victory. Ironically, the peace treaty had already been signed in Europe 2 weeks earlier. No land changed hands, no borders moved, but both sides claimed victory. Scene: Canadian and American flags, peaceful border today. For Canada, the war became a symbol of identity, a moment when farmers, Indigenous nations, and British troops united to defend their land. For the United States, it became a reminder. They could stand against the mighty British Empire, but Canada would not be so easily taken. And today, the world's longest peaceful border exists because both sides learned some fights are better left in history.